She went to ask for a job at the farm, but when she saw the farmer, she even forgot why she was there. Jennifer Parker clutched her resume to her chest as she walked down the dirt road leading to Oak Ridge Farm. Her hands trembled not just from the nerves of the interview, but from the desperation she had carried for weeks. She needed that job more than anything in her life. When she spotted the man in a cowboy hat fixing the fence, her world came to a complete stop. It was him, the face that had appeared in her dreams since childhood, the one her grandmother Rose always said was her destiny. The shock was so intense that she let the resume slip from her hands. "Excuse me, are you the owner?" Jennifer asked, quickly bending down to pick up the papers. Michael Bennett took off his hat and ran a hand through his brown hair. When his eyes met hers, he felt a strange familiarity, as if he had known her from somewhere. "Yes, I am. Michael Bennett. You must be the candidate for the administrator position." Jennifer nodded, still unsettled by the inexplicable feeling. That's when she noticed the golden wedding band on his finger. Her heart sank. "Jennifer Parker," she managed to say, handing over the resume with hands that still shook. Michael didn't even glance at the papers. There was something about this woman that captivated him instantly. "The job is yours. You can start tomorrow. But you haven't even read my resume." "I don't need to. I trust my instincts." Jennifer knew she should question such a quick decision, but urgency spoke louder. Her mother, Sarah, had been hospitalized for 3 weeks with an illness the doctor still couldn't diagnose. The costs of the private hospital were draining her savings. "I need to know the salary," she said, swallowing her pride. $1,500 to start. If it works out, we'll talk about a raise in 3 months. It was less than she had hoped for, but it would have to do. Jennifer accepted on the spot. The next day, she arrived at the farm at 6 in the morning. Michael was already in the barn, milking the cows with 2 workers. "Good morning, Jennifer. How about we start with a tour of the property?" As they walked, Michael explained that he had inherited the land just 6 months ago, when his adoptive father passed away. Adoptive father? Jennifer couldn't hide her curiosity. "I was raised by William Bennett since I was 2. I never knew my biological family." Michael looked at the horizon. "But William was more of a father to me than many blood fathers are to their sons." Jennifer felt a pang in her chest. She too had grown up without knowing her real father. "And your wife? Does she help with the management?" Michael's expression hardened. "Rebecca lives in the city. She rarely comes here. Says the smell of cattle bothers her." Throughout the morning, Jennifer toured the entire property. The farm had potential, but was clearly mismanaged. The record books were a mess, costs were disorganized, and production was well below capacity. "Can I make a suggestion?" Jennifer asked after reviewing the paperwork. "Of course." "You're spending too much on store-bought feed. With this much land, you could plant corn and soybeans to feed the cattle. You'd save at least 30% on costs." Michael stopped walking and looked at her with admiration. "You really know your stuff." "I grew up on a farm. My grandmother always said the land teaches more than any college." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the following weeks, Jennifer implemented changes that began to show results. She reorganized work schedules, negotiated better prices with suppliers, and created a tracking system to monitor every penny spent. Michael was impressed by her dedication. She would arrive before sunrise and leave after sunset, always with new ideas to improve production. But along with progress came strange phone calls. "Jennifer Parker?" The voice on the other end was rough. "Yes, who is this?" "Someone who doesn't want to see you fail on this farm. Get out while you still can." The call ended abruptly. Jennifer shuddered, but decided not to mention it to Michael. She was afraid he might dismiss her for bringing trouble. The calls repeated for 3 consecutive days, always with the same threatening tone. On the 4th call, the man was more specific. "You're meddling where you don't belong. If you don't leave voluntarily, you'll be forced out." Jennifer was starting to feel truly threatened when Michael found her crying in the office. "What's wrong?" he asked, stepping closer with concern. It's nothing, I'm just tired. Jennifer, I know what tired looks like. This is fear. Talk to me. She told him about the calls. Michael was furious. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I was afraid you'd send me away. I'd never do that. You're transforming this farm. We're filing a police report. No, please, I don't want to make a scene. Maybe it'll stop on its own. But it didn't. The following week, sabotage began. Tools went missing. The water pump mysteriously malfunctioned, and 3 cows fell ill after eating feed that appeared out of nowhere in the barn. Michael grew increasingly worried, not just for the farm, but for Jennifer. He felt responsible for her safety, and if he was honest with himself, was developing feelings he shouldn't have. One night he found her working alone in the office late. Jennifer, you need to rest. I can't. I have to finish the financial report, and I still need to visit my mom at the hospital. How is she? Jennifer sighed deeply. The doctors said they need to run more tests, expensive tests, and I don't know how I'll pay for them. Michael's chest tightened. Without a second thought, he pulled out his checkbook. How much do you need? I can't accept it. I already owe you too many favors. It's not a favor. It's an advance on your salary. You can pay it back when you can. Jennifer looked at the check and began to cry. $3,000. It was exactly what she needed. Why are you doing this for me? Michael looked into her eyes and almost confessed what he felt. Almost told her he couldn't bear to see her suffer. Almost spoke of the whirlwind of emotions she stirred in him. Because you're a good person, and good people deserve help. At the hospital, while waiting for Sarah's test results, Michael stayed by Jennifer's side. She was nervous, pacing the hallway. My daughter, Sarah called Michael closer to the bed. Thank you for looking after her. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. Jennifer's always been too stubborn to accept help. Ever since she was little, she wanted to solve everything on her own. Who did she get that stubbornness from? Michael smiled. Her grandmother, no doubt. Rose Parker was the most determined woman I ever knew. She said Jennifer had a special destiny ahead. Michael felt a chill when he heard the last name. Parker. There was something familiar about it. Did Jennifer's grandmother live around here? Yes. She even worked on a farm nearby many years ago. Oak Ridge Farm, if I remember correctly. Michael's heart raced. His farm was called Oak Ridge. It couldn't be a coincidence. Are you sure about the farm's name? Absolutely. Rose always talked about that place, said it was the happiest time of her life. When they left the hospital, Michael was lost in thought. Sarah would be discharged in a few days, but the doctors recommended complete rest for a month. I'll have to take a few days off to care for her, Jennifer said in the car. No way. Your mom can stay at the farm. There's a room in the main house I don't use. Michael, I can't take advantage of your kindness. It's not kindness, it's convenience. This way, you can stay close to work and take care of her at the same time. Jennifer looked at him with gratitude. She didn't understand why this married man was being so kind to her, but she needed the help. Sarah was moved to the farm 3 days later. She was enchanted by the place and by Michael, but Jennifer noticed her mother looked at him strangely, as if trying to remember something. Mom, is something wrong? You've seemed different since we got here. It's nothing, dear. It's just that this place brings back memories of your grandmother. That night, Jennifer was organizing documents when she found an old folder in the files. Inside were papers from when the farm belonged to Michael's father. Among them was a list of employees from 40 years ago. Her heart stopped when she saw the name, Rose Parker, cook. Her grandmother had really worked on this farm. That's why the place felt familiar, why her mother had that strange expression. Jennifer rushed to her mother's room. Mom, you need to tell me about Grandma Rose and this farm. Sarah sighed. Your grandmother worked here for 2 years. It was the happiest time of her life. She said she loved this place as if it were her own home. Why did she leave? Something complicated happened. Rose fell in love with the owner. He was married but unhappy in his marriage. They started a relationship. Jennifer felt her stomach twist. Mum, His wife found out and made a scene. Rose was sent away the same day. She was pregnant. Pregnant with whose child? His. Your real grandfather is William Bennett, Michael's father. Jennifer's world collapsed. If William Bennett was her grandfather, that meant Michael was her uncle. All the feelings she'd been developing for him were wrong, impossible. Why did you never tell me? Rose made me promise I never would. She was ashamed of what happened. She raised your mother alone, never speaking of it again. Jennifer left the room in shock. She sat on the porch, trying to process the information. Michael appeared a few minutes later. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Michael, I have to leave. What? Why? I can't stay here. I can't work for you. Jennifer, I don't understand. Did something happen? She looked into his eyes and felt her heart break. How could she be in love with someone who was family? I just can't stay, I'm sorry. Michael was baffled. That morning, Jennifer had been her usual dedicated self. Now she wanted to leave without explanation. If it's because of the threats, we can handle it. I'll hire security. It's not that. Then what is it? Did I do something wrong? Jennifer wanted to tell the truth, but she couldn't. The pain was too much. I just need to go. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. Michael spent the whole night trying to figure out what had happened. By morning, he decided to talk to Sarah. Maybe she could explain her daughter's sudden change. Mrs. Sarah, can I talk to you? Of course, Michael. Sit here. Jennifer wants to leave and won't tell me why. Do you know what happened? Sarah looked at the young man who had been so kind to her family. She couldn't bring herself to lie to him. Michael, do you know your family's history? I know I was adopted. William told me when I turned 18. And your birth mother? William said she worked here on the farm, that she had to leave because things got complicated. Your birth mother's name was Rose Parker. Michael's eyes widened. Parker? Jennifer's grandmother? That's right. Rose was his biological grandmother. Jennifer was his cousin. Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. Cousin. They were related. That's why he felt that inexplicable connection with her. That's why she wants to leave. Jennifer found out last night. She's hurting just as much as you are. Michael walked out of the house aimlessly. Everything made sense now. The familiarity he felt when he looked at Jennifer, the sense that he already knew her, the ease with which they connected. She was his family, the only biological family he knew. But his feelings for her weren't cousin-like, and that left him completely lost. Jennifer spent the day packing her things. Sarah was already better and could go home. She'd find another job somewhere far away. In the afternoon, Michael knocked on her bedroom door. Jennifer, can we talk? There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. We're family, the only family we have. Jennifer opened the door, her eyes red from crying. That's exactly why I need to leave. Why? Finding out we're related shouldn't drive us apart. It should bring us together. Michael, you don't understand. I do understand. I feel it too. Jennifer looked at him, confused. What do you feel? The same thing you do. That's why you're running. That's why you're hurting. Because what we feel for each other isn't family-like. Jennifer started crying again. That's exactly why I have to leave. I can't stay here feeling this way about you. Jennifer, maybe there's an explanation. Let's look for more information about our family. For what? To find out we're even closer? Or to find out we're not as closely related as we think? Jennifer stopped crying and looked at him with a glimmer of hope. Do you think that's possible? I don't know, but it's worth finding out. They spent the next few days investigating their family history. Michael searched for his adoption papers, while Jennifer talked at length with her mother about Rose's past. It was Sarah who brought the first important clue. Jennifer, I spoke with your Aunt Barbara yesterday. She told me something that might change everything. What? Rose had 2 relationships during her time at the farm, one with William Bennett and another with a worker named Robert. Jennifer's heart raced. 2 relationships? Rose was never sure who the baby's father was. She assumed it was William because he was the boss, but it could have been Robert too. Where is this Robert now? He died 15 years ago, but he had other children. One of them lives here in town. Jennifer ran to tell Michael. For the first time in a week, they both felt a flicker of hope. "Let's find this son of Robert," said Michael. "Maybe he knows something." They found the man working at a mechanic's shop. His name was Kevin Miller. He was 60 years old, and he remembered his father well. "My father always talked about Rose," said Kevin. "Said she was the great love of his life." "Did your father ever mention the possibility of having a child with her?" asked Jennifer. "He did. He said when Rose left the farm she was pregnant. He was sure the baby was his. Is there any way to prove it? I have a letter she wrote to him. My father kept it until he died." Kevin went home to fetch the letter. It was from 1960, written in careful handwriting. "Robert, I have to leave. What happened between us was beautiful but too complicated. I'm expecting a baby, and I don't know if it's yours or William's. I'd rather raise the child alone than cause more trouble. Don't look for me. Fondly, Rose." Jennifer and Michael exchanged glances. The doubt was real. "Is there any way to know the truth?" asked Michael. "There is," said Kevin. "A DNA test. If you're related, it'll come back positive. If not, we'll settle this once and for all." Jennifer's stomach twisted. The test could confirm their worst fears or set them both free to live what they felt. "Let's do it," said Michael, taking her hand. The 3-day wait for the results was agonizing. Jennifer went back to work at the farm but was tense and distracted. Michael couldn't focus on anything. The phone threats had stopped completely, as if whoever was behind them knew Jennifer was already suffering enough. On the day they went to get the results, they went to the lab together. The sealed envelope was on the doctor's desk. "Are you sure you want to know?" the doctor asked. "We are," Jennifer said, squeezing Michael's hand. The doctor opened the envelope and read the results silently. Then he looked at them with a neutral expression. "The DNA test indicates you are not biologically related." Jennifer and Michael stared at each other in shock. They weren't related. "Are you sure?" Michael asked. "Absolutely. You share no genetic material whatsoever." They left the lab in silence. Jennifer didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Michael was equally confused. "So," he began, "so my grandmother was right. The baby was Robert's, not William's. That means that we're not related, that everything I've felt for you is real." Michael stopped walking and looked at her. "Jennifer, these have been the hardest days of my life. Not because I thought you might be my relative, but because I thought I was going to lose you." "Michael, let me finish. I'm married, I know. But my marriage is only on paper. Rebecca and I don't love each other. We never have." "Then why did you get married?" "Convenience. Her father owns the bank that financed the farm. The marriage was part of the deal." Jennifer's heart raced. There was so much she wanted to say, but the words wouldn't come. "And now," she managed to ask, "now I'm going to ask for a divorce. I'll fight for my happiness. For our happiness." When they got back to the farm, they found Rebecca waiting on the porch. She was a blonde, elegant woman who clearly didn't belong in that rural setting. "Michael, we need to talk," she said, completely ignoring Jennifer. "Rebecca, what are you doing here?" "I came to bring news that will change everything." Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. Rebecca's tone didn't sound friendly. "I'm pregnant," she announced. Jennifer felt as if she'd been slapped. Michael turned pale. "Pregnant?" he repeated. "2 months along, so forget any ideas of divorce you might be having." Jennifer couldn't take any more. She ran inside the house and locked herself in the bedroom. Everything was going wrong again. Michael stood frozen, processing the information. "Rebecca, we haven't slept together in months." "Exactly, the baby isn't yours." The confession hit like a bomb. "What do you mean it's not mine?" "It's my personal trainer's. Brad is the father." Michael felt a mix of relief and anger. Then why are you telling me this? Because I want a divorce, but I want my share of the farm. Your share? Half of everything. That's what our prenup says. Michael remembered the document he'd signed 2 years earlier. In case of separation, Rebecca was indeed entitled to half. Rebecca, this farm is all I have. It's my father's legacy. And now it's half mine too. Either you pay me $500,000 or you'll have to sell and split it with me. Jennifer listened from the bedroom window. $500,000. Michael would never have that kind of money. The farm would have to be sold. After Rebecca left, Michael went upstairs to talk to Jennifer. You heard? I did. I'm so sorry, Michael. Jennifer, I'll figure something out. I won't let her destroy everything. How? You don't have that money. I'll take out a loan. I'll mortgage the farm if I have to. And if you can't pay it back? Michael didn't answer because he didn't have one. If he couldn't repay the loan, he'd lose the farm anyway. In the following weeks, Michael ran after solutions. He went to every bank in the region, but none agreed to lend that much money with the farm as collateral. The property was valued at $700,000, but its production didn't justify such a high loan. Jennifer watched his desperation and suffered alongside him. She tried to help with ideas, but the situation seemed impossible. That's when she received an unexpected call. Jennifer Parker? Yes, who's speaking? My name is Richard Coleman. I'm a businessman. I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? I'd like to meet you in person. Can I stop by the farm this afternoon? Jennifer was suspicious but agreed. Maybe it was a job opportunity that could help Michael in some way. Richard arrived driving an imported car. He was a man in his 60s, well-dressed and with an authoritative air. Miss Jennifer, thank you for receiving me. How can I help you? Actually, it's the opposite. I can help you. They sat on the porch. Richard looked around with excessive interest. Beautiful property. Too bad it'll have to be sold. Jennifer froze. How do you know that? I know many things. I know Michael Bennett needs $500,000 in a month. I know no bank wanted to lend it, and I know you care deeply about him. What do you want? I want to make an offer. I'll pay Michael's debt, the farm stays with him, and you get $200,000. In exchange for what? For you convincing him to sell the farm to me for $800,000. Jennifer didn't understand. But if you pay his debt, he won't need to sell. Oh yes, he will. Because after I pay Rebecca, I'll demand the money from Michael. With interest. In 6 months, the debt will be $700,000, and then he'll have no choice. This is a trap. It's a business deal, and you'll be well compensated for your part. Jennifer stood up, indignant. I would never do that to Michael. Think about it, dear. $200,000 is a lot of money, and in the end, Michael will lose the farm anyway. At least this way, both of you come out ahead. You're mistaken if you think I'll accept. Richard smiled coldly. I'm sure you'll change your mind. In fact, if you refuse my offer, I can guarantee things will get very complicated for you. Are you threatening me? I'm just saying it would be better for everyone if you accepted my help voluntarily. After Richard left, Jennifer told Michael everything. He was furious. That man is behind the threats you've been receiving. Absolutely. And now he's using Rebecca's situation to force us to sell. But how did he know about our problems? Someone's feeding him information. Michael thought about the farm employees. He'd known them for years and couldn't believe any of them would betray him. It has to be someone from the outside, he concluded. That night, Richard called Jennifer again. Changed your mind? I haven't, and I won't. What a shame. Because I have some information that might interest you. What information? About your biological father. Jennifer's heart raced. What do you know about my father? I know who he is. I know where he lives. And I know he's very wealthy. Tell me who he is. First, accept my offer. Never. Then you'll never know who your father is. The call ended. Jennifer was disturbed. Since childhood, she'd wondered about her father's identity. Sarah had always said he'd left before knowing about the pregnancy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The next day, Jennifer decided to talk to her mother again about her father. "Mom, I need to know the truth about my father." "Sweetheart, we've talked about this. Richard Coleman said he knows who he is." "How is that possible if even you don't know?" Sarah turned pale when she heard the name. "Richard Coleman. Where did you hear that name?" "He's the man who wants to buy the farm." "Mom, do you know him?" Sarah began to tremble. "Jennifer, sit down. I need to tell you something I should have told you a long time ago." "What is it?" "Richard Coleman is your father." Jennifer felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. "What do you mean he's my father?" "I worked at his company when I was 20. He was married, 40 years old. We started a relationship. When I found out I was pregnant, he offered me money to have an abortion. And then, I ran away. I came here to my mother's house and never spoke to him again. I never told him you were born." Jennifer couldn't process the information. "My father is a man who wants to destroy the life of the man I love?" "Jennifer, Richard Coleman is a dangerous person. If he found out who you are, it's because he's investigating your life. But why does he want this farm so badly?" "I don't know, dear. But I know him well enough to know he won't give up easily." Jennifer spent the rest of the day in shock. Her biological father was the man trying to destroy Michael. It couldn't be a coincidence. That night, Richard called again. "Did you find out who I am?" "I did." "Good. Now that you know I'm your father, maybe you'll accept my offer." "Exactly the opposite. Now that I know who you are, I'm sure I'll never help you." "Jennifer, I'm your father. I can give you everything you've ever wanted. A father who offers me money to betray the person I love? No, thank you. You'll regret this decision." "I doubt it." The next day, Richard showed up at the farm unannounced. Michael was in the pasture when he saw the car approaching. "Michael Bennett." Richard stepped out of the car with a fake smile. "That's me. Who are you?" "Richard Coleman, businessman. I came to make an offer for your farm." "I'm not interested in selling." "Not even if you have to pay $500,000 to your ex-wife in 3 weeks?" Michael realized this man knew too much about his private life. "How do you know that?" "I know a lot of things. I know you don't have that money. I know no bank would lend it to you, and I know if you don't pay, you'll lose everything anyway. So what? I'll offer you $800,000 for the farm. You pay your ex-wife and still have $300,000 left to start a new life." Michael looked around. That land was his life, his dream, the inheritance of the man who raised him. "I'm not interested. Think carefully, son. It's the only chance you have to get out of this without debt." "I already said no." Richard smiled coldly. "I'll leave my offer on the table. You have until the end of the month to decide. After that, the terms might change." After Richard left, Michael went to find Jennifer. "That man is dangerous. He knows too much about our lives." "Michael, I need to tell you something about him." Jennifer shared the revelation that Richard was her father. Michael was shocked. "Your father? But that can't be a coincidence." "It's not. He must have found out I work here and decided to use it to pressure you. Or he found out you work here and decided to use it to get close to you." "I don't understand." "Jennifer, think about it. A wealthy businessman who abandoned your pregnant mother, who never showed any interest in knowing you, shows up out of nowhere just when you're working on a farm he wants to buy. That's no coincidence." Jennifer reflected on Michael's words. "You think he planned all this?" "I think he investigated your life, found out where you worked, and decided to use the situation to get what he wants." "But why does he want this farm so badly?" "That's the question we need to answer." That night, they decided to investigate Richard Coleman's past. Jennifer called some people who knew her mother when she worked for him. An old colleague of Sarah's provided valuable information. Richard was always obsessed with land. In the 80s, he tried to buy several farms in the area but never succeeded. Why couldn't he? The owners didn't want to sell, and he didn't have enough money back then. And now he does. Now he's one of the wealthiest businessmen in the region, but he never forgot about the farms he wanted. Was Oak Ridge Farm on that list? Yes, it was. I remember he tried to buy it from Michael's father at the time. He offered a lot of money, but William Bennett refused. Jennifer shared the discovery with Michael. So he's wanted this farm for 40 years, and now that you're in trouble, he saw the perfect opportunity. But why this farm specifically? There are better properties in the area. There must be something special here, something only he knows. Michael decided to look for the farm's old documents. Maybe there was a clue about Richard's interest. In the attic of the house, he found a box with papers from his adoptive father, among them a geological report from 1978. Jennifer, come see this. The report indicated the presence of an underground aquifer on the property, pure water in large quantities. That's why, Jennifer said, he wants the water. Water is worth gold these days, especially pure water. And if the farm has a large reserve, it's worth much more than $800,000. Michael sat down, processing the information. Did my father know about this? He must have. That's why he never wanted to sell. And now Richard wants to pay a fraction of the real value to take it all. Jennifer felt anger rising in her chest. Her biological father wasn't just a man who had abandoned her. He was a schemer who wanted to steal from Michael. Let's use this information against him, she said. How? We'll make him think we don't know the farm's true value, and when he makes his final offer, we'll demand a fair price. Jennifer, even knowing about the aquifer, I still can't pay Rebecca. And if Richard finds out we know, he might back out of the deal. He won't back out. He's wanted this water for 40 years. He won't let it slip away now. And what if he decides to threaten us more seriously? Then we'll be ready. In the following days, they pretended everything was normal while preparing for the final confrontation with Richard. Jennifer researched the value of water and discovered a reserve like that could be worth millions. Michael tried once more to secure a loan but had no luck. The deadline to pay Rebecca was running out. A week before it was due, Richard showed up at the farm again. Michael, I hope you've reconsidered my offer. I'm still thinking. Time's running out. If you don't accept, you'll lose everything to your ex-wife. And if I accept, I'll lose everything to you. Richard smiled. Not exactly. You'll get $300,000 clean. That's more than most people earn in a lifetime. For a farm worth much more than $800,000, Richard masked his surprise. What do you mean by that? I mean, I know about the aquifer. The smile vanished from Richard's face. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you do. That's why you want this property so badly. That's why you tried to buy it 40 years ago. You're mistaken. No, I'm not. And now that I know the farm's true value, my offer is different. What offer? $2.5 million. It's a fair price considering what's underneath. Richard turned red with anger. You're crazy if you think I'll pay that. Then I won't. I'd rather lose to Rebecca than be robbed by you. Michael, you don't understand who you're dealing with. I understand perfectly. I'm dealing with a man who abandoned a pregnant woman and now wants to steal from the man who loves his daughter. Richard looked around for Jennifer. Where is she? Far from your clutches. Michael, you have 24 hours to accept my original proposal. After that, I'll withdraw the offer and you'll lose everything. You can withdraw it right now. Richard left the farm at high speed. Michael ran to find Jennifer, who was hiding in the barn. Did you hear everything? I did. You were amazing. Jennifer, I think I just signed our financial death sentence. No, you didn't. We have a plan B. What plan B? We'll look for other buyers. With the information about the aquifer, someone will surely offer a fair price. Jennifer, we don't have time. It's just a week. Then we'll work day and night. They spent the next 3 days calling business owners, mining companies, and investment groups. The answer was always the same. They needed more time to analyze the proposal. Michael was growing desperate when he received an unexpected call. Michael Bennett? Yes. My name is Dr. Robert Anderson. I'm an investor in the water resources sector. I heard you have a property with a water reserve for sale. I do. Can I visit today? I'm interested in closing a deal quickly. Michael felt a glimmer of hope. Of course, come whenever you'd like. Dr. Robert arrived in the afternoon, accompanied by 2 technicians. They reviewed the geological report and took some measurements on the land. Michael, I can make an immediate offer. $3,200,000. Michael nearly fainted. $3 million? It's a fair price. This water reserve could supply a small town for decades. And can you close the deal by the end of the week? I can close tomorrow if you'd like. Michael looked at Jennifer. $3,200,000. It was more money than he'd ever imagined having. Dr. Robert, I need to talk to my partner. Can I give you an answer tomorrow morning? Of course, but don't take too long. I have other investments waiting. After Dr. Robert left, Michael and Jennifer embraced. We did it, Jennifer exclaimed. I still can't believe it. $3 million, Michael. You can pay Rebecca and still have over $2 million left. We can. You're my partner in all this. Michael, I don't want the money. What do you mean you don't want it? I want you, just you. Michael kissed her for the first time there on the farm's porch, the same place where she had dropped her resume on the first day. Jennifer, I want to marry you. But you're still married. Not for long. With $2 million in the bank, I can hire the best lawyers in the country. They were so happy they didn't see Richard's car approaching. What a touching scene, he said, stepping out of the car. Michael and Jennifer pulled apart. What do you want here? Michael asked. I came to make one last offer. $1,500,000. It's my final offer. No, thank you. I already have a buyer offering more. Richard turned pale. Who? That's none of your concern. Michael, you don't understand. You can't sell this farm to anyone. Why not? Because there are legal issues involved. What legal issues? Richard hesitated, clearly making up an excuse. The farm's paperwork isn't in order. There could be problems with the title. The paperwork is perfect. It's already been reviewed by lawyers. Michael, I'm trying to help you. If you sell to these people, you could face serious problems in the future. You're not trying to help anyone, you're trying to deceive me. Think of Jennifer. She's my daughter. I don't want to see her caught up in trouble. Jennifer stepped forward. Is this the first time in your life you've worried about me? How convenient. Jennifer, I've always cared about you. Liar. If you cared, you would have looked for my mother when you found out she was pregnant. I didn't know. Of course you did. My mother tried to contact you multiple times. Richard realized he'd lost the argument. You'll regret this, he said, heading back to his car. Is that a threat? Michael shouted. It's a warning, Richard replied before speeding off. The next day, Michael called Dr. Robert to confirm the sale. Dr. Robert, we've decided to accept your offer. Perfect. Can I send the contracts this afternoon? Yes, you can. Michael, just to confirm, the farm is free of any liens or legal issues, right? It is. Why do you ask? Standard procedure. I don't want any surprises later. That afternoon, the contracts arrived by courier. Michael and Jennifer read everything carefully before signing. I can't believe this is happening, Jennifer said. In 3 days, we'll be millionaires. Michael, what if Richard tries to stop the sale? How? The farm is mine. I have all the documents. I don't know, but he seemed desperate yesterday. Michael signed the contracts and sent them back to Dr. Robert. Now all they had to do was wait for the money transfer. The next morning they had an unexpected visitor, a court officer. Michael Bennett? That's me. I have a court order here. The sale of Oak Ridge Farm is suspended by order of the civil court. Michael snatched the paper from the officer's hands. Suspended? Why? There's a dispute over the property. Mr. Richard Coleman claims he has rights to this land. Jennifer felt her blood boil. What rights? It's all explained in the petition. You have 15 days to respond. After the officer left, Michael read the entire petition. Richard claimed that William Bennett had acquired the farm illegally in the 60s using forged documents. That's a lie, Michael said. My father was an honest man. Of course it's a lie. Richard made this up to stop the sale. But now we'll have to prove it's a lie, and that could take months. Michael, what about the debt to Rebecca? Michael checked the calendar. They had 4 days left before the deadline. I don't know. I'll have to talk to her. He called Rebecca right away. Michael, I hope you're calling to say you have my money. Rebecca, I need more time. More time? We had an agreement. I know, but a legal issue has come up that's stopping the sale of the farm. What legal issue? Michael explained Richard's lawsuit. Michael, your problems aren't mine. I want my money by Friday, or I'll foreclose on the farm. Rebecca, be reasonable. Just a few more weeks. Not even a few more days. Friday, or I'll take everything you have. The call ended. Michael sat down, defeated. She won't wait, he told Jennifer. Then we'll have to find another solution. What solution? I can't get $500,000 in 4 days. Jennifer spent the whole night thinking. There had to be a way to turn things around. There just had to be. The next morning, she made a decision she knew Michael wouldn't like. I'm going to talk to Richard. Jennifer, no. It's the only way. He created this problem. He can fix it. And if he wants something in return, we'll find out. Jennifer called Richard and arranged to meet at his office in the city. It was an imposing building downtown overlooking the main square. Jennifer, what a surprise, Richard said when she walked in. Can we drop the act? We know the lawsuit is fake. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop pretending. What do you want to drop the lawsuit? Richard smiled. Now you're speaking my language. Answer me. I want the farm for the price I offered. $800,000? Now it's $600,000. The price dropped because you caused trouble. Jennifer wanted to scream. You're insane. I'm being generous. I could wait for you to lose everything and buy it for much less. Richard, I'm your daughter. So? How can you do this to me? Richard turned serious for the first time. Jennifer, you don't understand. That farm means a lot to me. Because of the water? Not just that. Your paternal grandfather, your mother's father, worked on these lands. He was kicked out by Michael's father when they discovered his relationship with your grandmother. Jennifer was confused. What are you talking about? Rose Parker was my mother, Jennifer. We're siblings. Jennifer's world collapsed again. If Richard was Rose's son, that meant she and Michael were related once more. That's a lie. It's not. Rose had 2 children. Your father, who died 10 years ago, and me. We're half-siblings. Prove it. Richard opened a drawer and pulled out a birth certificate. The mother's name was there, Rose Parker. Jennifer left the office in shock. She called her mother immediately. Mom, is Richard Coleman Rose's son? Sweetheart, where are you? Answer me. Yes, he is. Rose had Richard when she was very young. She gave him up for adoption because she couldn't raise him. Why did you never tell me this? Because Richard has always been a bad person. Rose regretted giving him up when she found out how he turned out. Jennifer hung up and leaned against the wall. If Richard was Rose's grandson, and Michael was too, they were third-degree relatives. She rushed back to the farm to tell Michael. Michael, I found out why Richard wants this farm so badly. Why? He's our relative. Rose's grandson too. Michael sat down heavily. Jennifer, if we're third-degree relatives, I know, we're related. They sat in silence for a few minutes, processing yet another twist in their lives. Jennifer, third-degree relatives aren't an obstacle to marriage. They're not. No, you can marry from the 3rd degree onward. Jennifer felt immense relief. Are you sure? Absolutely. My 3rd-degree cousin is married with kids. So we can still be together. We can, but we still have the farm problem. Jennifer thought for a moment. Michael, if Richard is family, maybe we can negotiate differently. How so? I don't know. But there must be a way to solve this without losing everything. That night, Jennifer had an idea. She called Richard. Richard, I have a proposal. I'm listening. What if we formed a partnership? What kind of partnership? You drop the lawsuit, we don't sell to Dr. Robert, and we develop the aquifer together. Go on. You provide the capital to develop the project, we provide the land. We split the profits equally. Richard stayed silent, considering the proposal. And Michael would agree to this? I'll talk to him. Jennifer, if we do this, I'd be your partner, not your father. I'd prefer it that way. What about Michael's debt to his ex-wife? That would be part of the initial investment. You'd pay the debt as an advance on your share. Interesting. Give me 24 hours to think. Jennifer hung up, hopeful. It was a solution that could save the farm and solve all their problems. She discussed the idea with Michael. Jennifer, do you trust him? I don't trust him as a father, but I trust him as a businessman. He's greedy, but he's not stupid. If it's a good deal for him, he'll honor it. What if he tries to cheat us? We'll draft an ironclad contract, with lawyers on both sides. The next day, Richard called. Jennifer, I accept your proposal, but with one condition. What? I want 51% of the partnership. Why? Because I'm funding the entire investment. You're only contributing the land. Jennifer was disappointed. 51% meant Richard would have total control. I need to talk to Michael. Don't take too long, the debt is due tomorrow. Jennifer and Michael spent the whole afternoon discussing the proposal. Michael, it's better to have 49% of something than 100% of nothing. I know, but I don't like the idea of him having full control. At least we won't lose the farm. And if the business succeeds, we'll still get rich either way. What if he decides to kick us out later? He can't. The land is still ours. The contract would only be for water exploitation. Michael sighed. All right, we'll accept. Jennifer called Richard and confirmed the agreement. He would send the lawyers the next day to draft the contract. On Friday morning, the day before the debt with Rebecca was due, the lawyers arrived with the documents. Michael and Jennifer read everything carefully. The contract was fair. Richard would cover all development costs, pay $500,000 to settle Michael's debt, and the profits would be divided proportionally based on shares. Do you agree to the terms? Asked Richard's lawyer. We do, said Michael. They signed the contract in the presence of witnesses. Richard transferred the money to Michael's account immediately. Done, said Richard. Now we're partners. Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. It wasn't exactly what they had dreamed of, but it was better than losing everything. Richard, said Jennifer, I hope this partnership is the start of a better relationship between us. I hope so too, Jennifer. I hope so too. That afternoon, Michael paid off the debt with Rebecca. She was surprised by how quickly it happened. Where did you get so much money? She asked. I entered a partnership. With who? With Jennifer's father. Rebecca laughed. The father who abandoned her. How ironic. Rebecca, now that everything's settled, can we finalize the divorce? Of course. I couldn't stand being married to you anyway. A week later, Richard withdrew the lawsuit. Dr. Robert was disappointed to lose the deal, but understood the situation. Michael, if you ever want to sell, come to me. My offer still stands. With the legal issues resolved, Richard began bringing in technicians to evaluate the best way to exploit the aquifer. The project was ambitious, to create a mineral water company that would supply the entire region. Jennifer went back to working at the farm as usual, now as an official partner. Her relationship with Richard gradually improved. He still wasn't a loving father, but at least he was a respectful partner. Michael finally managed to divorce Rebecca. She married her personal trainer 2 months later. Jennifer, Michael said one night as they walked through the farm, amid all this chaos, we discovered who we really are. And what are we? A family by choice, not by blood but by choice. Jennifer smiled. The best family I could ever have. Jennifer Parker, will you marry me? Michael Bennett, I accept. The wedding was simple, held right on the farm, with Sarah, some employees, and, to everyone's surprise, Richard in attendance. Jennifer, he said after the ceremony, I know I wasn't a good father, but I hope I can be a good father-in-law. Richard, family is built every day. You still have time. 6 months later, the mineral water company was up and running. Oak Ridge Springs became a well-known brand in the region. The profits exceeded all expectations. Jennifer found out she was pregnant the day they received the first major payment from the company. "Michael, our child will grow up on a thriving farm with a united family. Just like your grandmother Rose always dreamed. I think she'd be proud. I'm sure she would." A year later, as Jennifer held little William Rose in her arms, Richard approached. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Can I be the grandfather I never managed to be as a father?" Jennifer looked at the man who had been her adversary for so long and saw for the first time sincere emotion in his eyes. "Yes, you can, Grandpa Richard." Michael watched the scene with a smile. The farm he had almost lost had become not just a source of wealth, but the heart of a family built on forgiveness, perseverance, and love. "Jennifer," he said, embracing his wife and son, "remember the day you came looking for a job?" "How could I forget? I was so nervous I dropped my resume, and I hired you without even reading it." "Why?" "Because I knew right away you weren't just looking for a job. You were looking for your place in the world. And I found so much more than I imagined. You found a family, a home, and a love for a lifetime." Jennifer looked around. Oak Ridge Farm was more beautiful than ever. The cattle grazed peacefully, the crops stretched green across the horizon, and the crystal-clear spring that had caused so much trouble now quenched the thirst of thousands. "Michael, do you know what I find most amazing about this whole story?" "What?" "That my grandmother Rose always said I had a special destiny. I thought she was being dramatic. And was she? No. My destiny really was to find you, rebuild this farm, and raise a family in the place where it all began." "And Richard? Was he part of the destiny too?" Jennifer glanced at her father playing with his grandson in the garden. "I think so. Some people come into our lives to teach us about forgiveness. Richard taught me that family isn't just those who love us, but also those who learn to love us." 2 years later, Oak Ridge Springs had become one of the largest mineral water companies in the state. Michael, Jennifer, and Richard decided to use part of the profits to create a training center for rural women right on the farm. "Jennifer," Richard said during the center's inauguration, "I have a confession to make." "What is it?" "When I found out you worked here, it wasn't by chance. I'd been looking into your life for years." "Why?" "Because I always regretted not searching for your mother when I found out she was pregnant. When you grew up, I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know how." "So you made up the story about the farm?" "I didn't make it up. I always wanted this property. But when I learned you worked here, I saw a chance for us to connect. In a very complicated way. I admit it wasn't the best strategy. But it worked, didn't it?" Jennifer laughed. "It did. Painfully, but it worked." At the end of the day, as the sun set over Oak Ridge Farm, Jennifer and Michael walked to the spot where she had dropped her resume on her first day. "Michael, remember what you said when you hired me? That I trusted my instinct." "Your instinct was right." "How so?" "You didn't hire me to be your manager. You hired me to be your family." Michael kissed his wife's forehead. "And you didn't come looking for a job. You came looking for your home. And I found all that and so much more." At the training center, dozens of women arrived every day seeking a new opportunity. Each carried her own story of struggle and hope. Jennifer welcomed them personally, always remembering the day she herself had arrived there with trembling hands and a heart full of fear. "Ladies," she told each new group, "you didn't come here just to learn a skill. You came to discover your strength, your ability, and your worth." The center offered courses in farm management, agricultural techniques, entrepreneurship, and leadership. But more than technical knowledge, it offered dignity and hope. Sarah, fully recovered, became the center's educational coordinator. At 70, she had found her true calling, teaching other women to believe in themselves. "My dear," she told Jennifer one afternoon, "your grandmother Rose would be so proud to see what this farm has become. A place of new beginnings, a place where stories are rewritten." Richard, who had initially only cared about the financial side of the business, began to engage more with the center. He quietly funded scholarships and equipment. "Why don't you want to be seen at the inaugurations?" Jennifer asked. "Because this isn't about me, it's about you and them," he replied, pointing to the students. "Richard, you've changed so much. Or maybe this is the person I always wanted to be, but never knew how." The farm became a symbol in the region. Journalists came from other states to learn about the story of the family business, born from near tragedy. But Michael and Jennifer always made sure to keep the focus on what truly mattered, the people who found a new chance there. "Michael," Jennifer said one morning, as they watched a new group arriving, "sometimes I think I dreamed all of this." "Why?" "Because it feels too good to be true." "Jennifer, you worked hard to get here. It wasn't luck. It was deserved. We worked together, like everything worthwhile in life." Little William Rose, now 3 years old, ran through the halls of the center, greeting every student by name. He had grown up watching women fight for their dreams and learning that strength has no gender. "Mommy," he said one afternoon, "why do the aunties cry when they finish the course?" "Because they're tears of happiness, my love. They're happy because they've discovered they're capable of anything." "Will I cry too when I grow up?" "I hope so. I hope you'll always be moved by the victories of the people you love." At the center's 5-year anniversary celebration, Jennifer was asked to give a speech. She stepped onto the stage and looked at the audience full of women who had transformed their lives. "5 years ago," she began, "I came to this farm looking only for a job. I was desperate, afraid, unsure if I could pay for my mother's treatment." The audience listened in silence. "Today I look at you and see that each of you arrived here with your own version of my despair. But I also see that each of you has discovered, like I did, that we're much stronger than we ever imagined." Applause echoed through the hall. This center doesn't exist to give us jobs. It exists to remind us that we're capable of creating our own paths. After the event, Jennifer found Richard sitting alone on the house's porch. "Aren't you going to the party?" "I'm fine here. I like watching from a distance." "Richard, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Do you regret anything in life?" Richard thought for a long moment. "I regret taking so long to realize that being a father isn't just about giving money. It's about being present. And now? Now I'm trying to make up for lost time by being the best grandfather I can be." "You're succeeding." "Jennifer, can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" "Of course." "I always knew you existed. I always knew where your mother lived, but I was afraid to reach out." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid you'd reject me. Afraid you'd say it was too late." Jennifer held her father's hand. "It's never too late to start doing the right thing. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Thank you for learning to deserve it." 10 years after that first day Jennifer arrived at the farm, Oak Ridge Springs had become one of the most respected companies in the country, not just for its financial success, but for its social impact. The training center had graduated over 1,000 women. Many had started their own businesses, others became leaders in their communities, and some returned as teachers. "Michael," Jennifer said one morning, "remember when you said you'd fight for our happiness?" "I remember." "You achieved so much more than happiness. You found purpose." "We did. And you know what's most amazing?" "What?" "That it all started because I needed a simple job, and ended with you creating jobs for hundreds of people." Jennifer looked out the window and saw William Rose playing in the garden with some of the center's employees' daughters. "Michael, our son will never know what it's like to desperately need a job, but he'll know what it means to give opportunities to those who do. Like we learned from everything we went through." "Exactly." That afternoon, Jennifer received a call that deeply moved her. "Jennifer Parker." "Yes." "My name is Melissa. I was one of the first students at the center 8 years ago." "Hi, Melissa. How are you?" "I'm great. I called to share some news. I just opened my second store. I'm going to employ 15 people." "Melissa, that's wonderful." "Jennifer, I want to thank you, not just for the course, but for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself." "Melissa, I only showed you what was already inside you." "No, you did much more than that. You taught me that we deserve good things in life." After hanging up, Jennifer kept thinking about Melissa's words. Deserving good things. That was exactly what she had learned on that farm. "Michael," she said when he came in from the fields, "I think I've discovered what our family's real business is." "What?" "Teaching people to believe they deserve to be happy. So the mineral water is just a means." "Exactly. The real product is hope." 15 years after that first meeting, Oak Ridge Farm had become a social development complex. Besides the training center, there was a technical school, a business incubator, and a community hospital. Jennifer, now a mother of 3, coordinated everything with the same dedication she had once poured into managing the farm. "Mom," said William Rose, now 18, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, son." "Why did you never leave here? With all this money, you could live anywhere in the world." Jennifer smiled. "Because this is our place in the world. It's where I met your father, where we built our family, and where we can make a difference." "But don't you ever want to see other places?" "We do, and we have. But we always come back home." "What about me? Can I choose a different path?" "Of course you can. But I hope, no matter what path you take, you remember what you learned here." "What did I learn?" "That life isn't about what we get for ourselves. It's about what we do for others." William Rose nodded, absorbing his mother's words. "Mom, can I tell you something?" "Of course. I want to study business, and then I want to come back and help at the center." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. "Why?" "Because I want to continue the story you started. I want others to have the same opportunity you had." "William, are you sure?" "Absolutely. This place has changed thousands of lives. I want to be part of that change." That night, Jennifer told Michael about their son's words. "He wants to continue our work." "And you're surprised?" "A little. I thought he'd want something different." "Jennifer, look around. William grew up seeing the impact of our work. It's only natural he'd want to be part of it." "But what if it's just our influence? What if he feels obligated? You know our son. He's as stubborn as his mother. If he wanted something else, nothing in the world would stop him." Jennifer laughed. "True, he's just like me. And that's a good thing. The world needs stubborn people who don't give up on their dreams." The next morning, Jennifer woke up early and walked to the place where it all began, the spot where she had dropped her resume 15 years earlier. Now, a sign stood there. Rose Parker Training Center, where stories begin. "Grandma," Jennifer murmured, "I hope you're proud of what we've done with your farm." A gentle breeze rustled the trees, as if Rose were whispering a reply. Michael appeared a few minutes later. "I knew I'd find you here." "Why?" "Because whenever you need to think, you come to this place. It's where I remember who I was and who I've become." "And who have you become?" "A woman who learned that sometimes we don't find what we're looking for. We find what we need." "And what did you need?" "A family, a purpose, and a place to belong." "And you found all that on a farm in the middle of nowhere?" "I found all that in you. The farm was just the setting." Michael held her close. "Jennifer, there's something I never told you." "What?" "The day I hired you without even reading your resume, it wasn't just instinct." "What was it then?" "It was recognition. Like my soul recognized yours." "You believe in those things?" "I do now. After everything we've been through, how could I not?" They walked back home hand in hand, passing the training center where the first students were already arriving. "Michael," Jennifer said, "do you know what my greatest pride is?" "What?" "It's not the money we've made or the company's success." "Then what is it?" "It's knowing that hundreds of women came here feeling just like I did on that first day and left believing in their own worth. And that makes you happy. That gives my life meaning." 20 years later, Jennifer and Michael's story had become legendary in the region. Business students came to study the model that combined profit with social impact. Jennifer, now 50, remained actively involved in the center, but had handed over general management to William Rose. "Mom," he said during a family meeting, "I have a proposal." "I'm listening." I want to expand the center to other cities. Richard, now 80 but still sharp, perked up at the idea. How would you do that? Partnerships with other farms, not selling our methodology, but teaching other producers to create their own centers. Jennifer looked at Michael, who nodded. William, that's an ambitious idea. I learned from you that it's better to dream big and reach halfway than to dream small and reach it all. And how do we ensure they keep our values? We don't, but we plant seeds, and good seeds always bear good fruit. 6 months later, the first partner center opened in a neighboring state. Within 2 years, there were 20 centers across the country. Jennifer traveled constantly to visit each one, ensuring they stayed focused on people, not just results. Michael, she said after one of these trips, I never imagined our little farm would turn into a national movement. Movement? That's what it is. A movement of people who believe everyone deserves a second chance. Or a real first chance. Exactly. On one of these trips, Jennifer met a young woman who reminded her so much of herself. What's your name? She asked. Lauren Miller. And why did you come to the center, Lauren? Because my daughter is sick, and I need a better job to pay for her treatment. Jennifer felt a chill. It was her own story from 20 years ago. Lauren, can I promise you something? What? If you dedicate yourself here, like I know you can, you won't just pay for your daughter's treatment. You'll achieve so much more. How can you be so sure? Because I've been where you are, and if it worked for me, it'll work for you too. 6 months later, Jennifer got a call from Lauren. Mrs. Parker, I wanted to thank you. What happened, Lauren? I got a job at a big company. I'll be earning 3 times what I did before, and my daughter is cured. Lauren, that's wonderful, but you did this on your own merit. I did it because someone believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. That conversation made Jennifer reflect on the cycle they'd created. Women who'd been helped were now helping others. Michael, she said that night, I think I understand our real legacy. What is it? It's not the centers, not the company, not even the money. Then what? It's a chain of kindness. Every woman who passes through here will touch other lives, and they'll touch more lives, and so on. A chain reaction of hope? Exactly. 25 years after that first encounter, Jennifer was sitting on the same porch where Michael had offered her the job. Now, a grandmother of 6 grandchildren, she watched the family's 5th generation playing in the farm's garden. Grandma Jennifer, said her eldest granddaughter Emma, who was 10, tell me again the story of how you met Grandpa Michael. Again, Emma, you already know it by heart. But I love it. It's like a fairy tale, but real. Jennifer smiled and began to tell the story, as she had done hundreds of times. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Jennifer who was very worried because her mother was sick. And she went looking for a job at a farm, Emma continued. That's right, but when she got there, something unexpected happened. She fell in love with the farmer. Not exactly, Emma. She felt a special connection, but he was married. And then they suffered a lot before they could be together. They did suffer, but they learned that sometimes you have to go through hardships to appreciate the good things. Grandma, did you always know you'd end up together? Jennifer thought about the question. No, sweetheart, you never know what's going to happen in life, but you can choose to fight for what you believe in. And did you fight? A lot. We fought against hardships, against people who didn't want us to be happy, and even against our own fears. But in the end, everything worked out. It did, because we never gave up on each other. Emma grew thoughtful. Grandma, when I grow up, I want to find a love like yours. Emma, the most important thing isn't finding a great love, it's being someone worthy of love. What do you mean? If you're a good, brave, and generous person, you'll attract good people into your life. Like you did? Like I tried to do. No one's perfect, Emma, but we can try to be the best version of ourselves every day. Michael approached and heard the end of the conversation. Grandpa Michael, said Emma, did you know you'd fall in love with Grandma Jennifer? I didn't know, Emma. But I knew she was special. How? Because she cared more about others than herself, and that's very rare. And that's why you got rich. Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances and laughed. Emma, said Jennifer, we didn't get rich because we wanted to. We got rich because we wanted to help others. I don't understand. When you do things with love and dedication, success comes naturally. And did you always do everything with love? We tried, said Michael. We didn't always succeed, but we always tried. That night, after the children had left, Jennifer and Michael were alone on the porch. Michael, sometimes I'm afraid. Afraid of what? That all of this is temporary, that we might lose everything again. Jennifer looked back. How many times did we think we'd lose everything? Many. And how many times did we actually lose it? Never. So why would it be different now? I don't know. Sometimes happiness scares me. Michael took her hand. Jennifer, you deserve all this happiness. We deserve it. How can you be so sure? Because we fought hard to get here. Because we never hurt anyone along the way. Because we always tried to do the right thing, even when it was hard. And is that enough? It's more than enough. They sat in silence, watching the stars in the farm's sky. Michael, Jennifer said after a while, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything differently? I would. What? I'd ask you to marry me on the first day. Jennifer laughed. You couldn't. You were married. Then I'd get divorced on the second day. Michael Bennett, after all these years, you still make me feel like a love-struck teenager. And you still make me believe in fairy tales. Is our story really a fairy tale? It's the best fairy tale I know, because it's real. The following Sunday, the whole family gathered for their monthly lunch. There were over 30 people, children, daughters-in-law, sons-in-law, grandchildren, and even Richard, now 85 years old. Everyone, said Jennifer during dessert, I'd like to make a little toast. Everyone picked up their glasses. 25 years ago, I arrived at this farm just looking for a job. Today, I look around this table and see I found so much more than that. What did you find, Grandma? Asked one of the grandchildren. I found that family isn't just who you're born with, it's who chooses to stay with you. Richard discreetly wiped away a tear. I found that love isn't just a feeling, it's a decision. The decision to fight every day for each other's happiness. Michael nodded, moved. And I found that success isn't about having a lot. It's about being a lot, being useful, being loved, being remembered for the good you've done. Grandma, said William Rose, what's your biggest wish for the future? Jennifer looked at each face around the table. That you always remember, no matter how hard life seems, there's always a chance for a fresh start. And that we're living proof of that. Everyone raised their glasses, but Emma raised her hand. Grandma, can I ask a question? Of course, sweetheart. If you hadn't dropped your resume that day, would you have met the same way? Jennifer looked at Michael and smiled. Emma, I believe some people are meant to find each other. Maybe not that day in that place, but someday. Why? Because when two souls recognize each other, the universe conspires to bring them together. Even with all the difficulties you went through. Especially because of the difficulties, they taught us to cherish what we have. Grandma Jennifer, said another grandchild, will you stay at the farm forever? Forever is a long time, dear, but as long as we can, we'll stay here taking care of what we've built. And when you can't anymore, Jennifer looked at William Rose. Then you'll take care of it for us. And one day, when you're old, your children will take care of it. And so on. Like a chain, asked Emma. Like a chain of love that never breaks. After lunch, while the grandchildren played in the garden and the adults talked in the living room, Jennifer and Michael walked to the place where it all began. Michael, she said, pointing to the center's sign, remember when you said you trusted your gut? I do. Was your gut right about me? It was right about us. How so? My gut didn't tell me you were the perfect employee. It told me you were the perfect person to share my life with. Even without knowing me. Especially without knowing you. Knowledge can deceive. Intuition never does. And if it had been wrong, What if I'd been a terrible person? Then I'd have helped you become a better one. Jennifer kissed him. I love you, Michael Bennett. I love you more, Jennifer Parker Bennett. Impossible. Why? Because you saved me. The one who saves always loves more. Jennifer, you saved me too. From what? From a life without purpose. From a marriage without love. From an existence without meaning. So we're even? We are, and we'll keep saving each other every day for the rest of our lives. That night, alone in their room, Jennifer opened the family photo album. Michael, look how young we were. We're still young. Michael, I'm 60, and I'm 65, but my heart is the same age as when I met you. What age is that? The age of first love. Jennifer turned the pages, reliving every important moment. Look at our wedding photo. You were beautiful. I was happy. It's different. Yeah, happiness is the prettiest makeup there is. And look at our kids when they were little. Now they have kids the same size they were in this picture. Time flies. It does. But we made the most of every minute, didn't we? Jennifer, how many families do you know that have been together for 25 years and still enjoy talking to each other? Few. Then we definitely made the most of it. Jennifer reached the last page of the album where there was a recent photo of the whole family. Michael, do you know what moves me the most about this picture? What? That everyone is smiling, genuinely smiling. Why does that move you? Because genuine smiles are proof we did things right, or that we fixed the wrong things. What do you mean? We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we always made them together, and we always fixed them together. That's true, I never felt alone in my mistakes. Neither did I. That's what partnership means. Jennifer closed the album and nestled into Michael's chest. Michael, can I tell you a secret? Of course. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, it takes me a few seconds to believe all of this is real. Why? Because it's too good. And I always thought things that were too good didn't last. And now? Now I know good things last when we take care of them. And did we take good care of them? We took care of them with love, respect, dedication, and a lot of hard work. Then it'll last forever. Michael? Thank you. For what? For hiring me without reading my resume. Thank you. For what? For dropping your resume. Why's that? Because if you hadn't dropped it, maybe you'd have been too nervous to talk to me. That's true. Dropping it gave me time to breathe and look into your eyes. And when you looked into my eyes, I knew my life would change forever. For the better? For infinitely better. They fell asleep in each other's arms, as they had every night for 25 years. The next morning, Jennifer woke before sunrise, as she always did. She made coffee and stepped onto the porch to watch the sun rise over the farm. Michael appeared a few minutes later. Good morning, my love. Good morning. Did you sleep well? I always sleep well when I'm in your arms, even after all these years. Especially after all these years. They stood in silence, watching the sun paint the sky gold. Michael, Jennifer said, sometimes I think about our story. And what do you conclude? That it wasn't a love story. Michael looked at her, surprised. What do you mean? It was a story of building. We built a love, we built a family, we built a business, we built a legacy. And is that better than a love story? It's more real. Love stories happen. Stories of building are chosen. And would you choose to build me again? Every day? Even knowing all the hardships we'd face? Especially knowing, because the hardships made us grow. Jennifer? I'd choose you every day too. Even knowing I'm stubborn. Especially because of that. Your stubbornness saved our family more than once. How so? When you stubbornly refused to accept Richard's offer in the beginning. Oh, that's true. When you stubbornly believed we could be happy even as relatives. Also true. When you stubbornly turned the farm into a social enterprise. You were stubborn about those things too. We were stubborn together. It's the best kind of stubbornness. A staff member from the center approached the porch. "Good morning, Mrs. Jennifer, Mr. Michael." "Good morning, Brenda. Is something wrong?" "A young woman arrived this morning. She said she needs to speak with you urgently." "At this hour? It's 6 in the morning." "She said she drove all night to get here." Jennifer and Michael exchanged glances. "Where is she?" "At the center's reception." "Let's go talk to her." They found a woman in her mid-20s, visibly tired and nervous. "Are you Jennifer Bennett?" "Yes, I am. And you are?" "My name is Ashley. Ashley Watson. I came from Chicago." "What can I do for you, Ashley?" The young woman began to cry. "Mrs. Jennifer, I read about you online. About how you managed to rebuild your life here." "Go on." "My situation is similar to what you went through. My mother is sick, I need money for her treatment, and I don't know what else to do." Jennifer felt a tightness in her chest. It was her own story repeating itself. "Ashley, what kind of help do you need?" "I need a job, any job. I studied business administration, but I don't have experience." Michael looked at Jennifer, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "Ashley," said Jennifer, "we have an opening at the training center. It doesn't pay much at first, but there's room for growth. You don't even know my resume." "I don't need to. I trust my instincts." Ashley stopped crying and looked at Jennifer with hope. "Are you serious?" "I am. But you need to understand one thing. Here, we work hard, and the work isn't just technical, it's emotional too." "What do you mean?" "You'll help other women going through the same thing you're going through now." "And how will that help me?" "It'll teach you that you're stronger than you think, and that your pain can turn into purpose." Ashley looked around, watching the center's activity as it began to operate. "Mrs. Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you really believe I can do this?" Jennifer remembered herself asking the same question 25 years ago. "Ashley, I don't know if you'll succeed, but I know if you fight like I believe you can, you'll achieve far more than you imagine." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I was exactly where you are, and if it worked for me, it can work for you too." Michael watched the scene with a smile on his face. History was repeating itself, but now they were on the other side, offering the opportunity they'd once received. "Ashley," he said, "would you like to see the farm?" "Sure." As they walked, Jennifer briefly shared her own story. Ashley listened, fascinated. "So you started just like me? Worse than you, at least you have an education. All I had was desperation. How did you make it?" "One day at a time, one right decision at a time, one well-done job at a time." "Is it hard?" "Very, but it's worth it." "Mrs. Jennifer, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "When I read your story online, I cried, because I thought, if she could do it, maybe I can too." "And you can, Ashley, but you have to want it badly." "I do, so much it hurts." "Then you already have the most important thing." "What's that?" "The will to change." They arrived at the spot where Jennifer had dropped her resume on the first day. "It was here," said Michael, "that everything began." "Here?" asked Ashley. "Here," Jennifer confirmed. "I was so nervous I dropped my resume right on this spot." "And you hired her anyway?" "I did," said Michael. "Best decision of my life." "Why?" "Because I didn't just gain an employee, I gained an entire family." Ashley looked at the couple and saw in their eyes the confirmation that stories of overcoming were possible. "Can I start today?" she asked. "Yes," said Jennifer. "But first, we'll sort out your accommodation and discuss your salary." "Anything will do." "Ashley, here we believe every job deserves fair pay. You won't go without." Thank you so much." Jennifer hugged the young woman. "Ashley, welcome to the family." That afternoon, as Ashley settled into the center's lodging, Jennifer and Michael reflected on the morning. "Michael, it was like reliving our own story." "It was, but now we know how it ends." "And how does it end?" "With victory, with family, with purpose." "Do you think it'll work out for her?" I'm sure. I saw the same determination in her eyes that I saw in yours 25 years ago. And if it doesn't, it will. And if it doesn't, we'll help until it does. Like Richard helped us? How family helps. Jennifer smiled. Do you know what moves me the most about all this? What? That our story didn't end with us. It's repeating itself with other people. And it will keep repeating forever. How so? Ashley will help others one day. Those people will help others. And so on. An endless chain? An endless chain of hope. 6 months later, Ashley had become one of the most dedicated employees at the center. Her mother had recovered and moved to the area to be closer to her daughter. Mrs. Jennifer, Ashley said in a meeting, I have a proposal. I'm listening. I want to create a specific program for young single mothers. Why? Because I know how hard it is to be young, alone, and with responsibilities. Did you go through that? I did. I had my daughter at 18. The father never stepped up. I had to fight alone until now. Jennifer looked at Michael, who nodded. Ashley, develop a project. If it's feasible, we'll implement it. Really? Really? But I want something in return. What? I want you to be the program coordinator. Me? But I don't have experience. You have the best experience possible. You lived through what these women are going through. 3 months later, the Entrepreneurial Mothers Program was launched. In its first year, it helped 50 young women achieve financial independence. Ashley, Jennifer said on the program's first anniversary, I'm proud of you. Thank you for believing in me. I just showed you what was already inside you. Mrs. Jennifer, can I confess something? Of course. When I first got here, I was thinking of giving up on everything. Giving up how? Giving up on life. I thought there was no solution to my problems. Jennifer felt a chill. And what changed? You, your story, your family, this place. Everything showed me there's always a way out. Ashley, you saved your own life. I just pointed the way. But without direction, I'd never have found the path alone. That night, Jennifer told Michael about her conversation with Ashley. Michael, if we hadn't hired her, don't think about that. How can I not? She could have, but she didn't give up. And it wasn't by chance she ended up here. Was it fate? It was a chain of kindness. Someone once helped someone who shared our story online, which reached Ashley. A truly endless chain. And we'll never know how many lives we've indirectly saved. It's a big responsibility. It's a great privilege. 5 years later, Ashley had taken over as the center's general coordinator, while Jennifer focused more on the project's national expansion. Ashley, Jennifer said one afternoon, I think the time has come. Time for what? For you to take full charge of the center. Michael and I want to retire. Retire? You're too young to retire. Not retire from work, retire from management. We want time to travel, be with our grandchildren, take care of each other. But I don't know if I'm ready for so much responsibility. Ashley, you're more prepared than I was when I started. How so? You have education, experience, passion for what you do, and a team that trusts you. And where will you go? We're not going anywhere. We'll keep living here at the farm. We just won't be involved in daily management anymore. Can I count on you when I need to? Always, but I trust you'll need us less and less. The transition was gradual and smooth. Within a year, Ashley was running everything with competence and confidence. Jennifer and Michael finally had time to travel. They visited other centers across the country, saw their children who lived far away, and took some international trips they'd always dreamed of. Michael, said Jennifer during a trip to the countryside of Florida, where they were visiting one of their partner centers, do you know what impresses me most about this trip? What? Seeing that our methodology works anywhere, with any kind of woman. Why do you think it works? Because it's not a technical methodology, it's a human one. How so? We don't just teach skills, we teach self-worth. And self-worth is universal? Every woman needs to believe in her own value, no matter where she was born or how she was raised. They returned from the trip even more convinced they were on the right path. At home, they found a surprise. Ashley had organized a party to celebrate the 30 years since Jennifer arrived at the farm. 30 years, Jennifer said, moved. I can't believe it's been so long. Mrs. Jennifer, Ashley said, we've prepared a special tribute. In the center of the hall, there was a panel with photos of all the women who had passed through the center over the years. There were over 2,000 photos. 2,000 lives transformed, said William Rose. That's the real 30-year gift. Jennifer looked at each photo, remembering many of the stories behind them. Michael, do you remember the first group? I do. 5 brave women who trusted us when even we didn't know if it would work. And now look at this, 2,000 women. And how many more have they helped since then? Impossible to count. Richard, now 90 years old and in a wheelchair but still sharp, approached. Jennifer, may I speak? Of course, Dad. When I started pursuing this farm 40 years ago, I thought I wanted the land. And you didn't? I did. But what I really wanted was to belong somewhere. And now you do? Now I know I belong to this family. And this family belongs to me. Was it hard to get here? Very hard. But every struggle was worth it. Why? Because it taught me it's never too late to be a better person. That night, after everyone had left, Jennifer and Michael stayed alone in the hall, looking at the photo panel. Michael, remember when you said you trusted your instinct? I do. Did your instinct know it would lead to all this? My instinct knew you were special. The rest was built by us. 30 years of building. And how many more ahead? As many as God allows. Jennifer? Thank you for letting that resume fall. Thank you for hiring me anyway. Would you do it again? 1,000 times. Even knowing all the struggles? Especially because of the struggles. They made us who we are. They stood embraced in the middle of the empty hall, surrounded by the photos of 2,000 women who had found hope in that place. Michael, Jennifer said, do you know what I'm most certain about in our story? What? That it isn't just ours. It belongs to all these women too. How so? Each of them is a piece of our story that continues in other lives. An endless story? An endless story of new beginnings. And so, as the sun set over Oak Ridge Farm for the 1,000th time since Jennifer had arrived there, just looking for a job, they knew their story had no end. It had continuation. In every woman who found the courage to start over, in every family reunited through work and dignity, in every dream that became reality through perseverance and love. The farm where it all began would forever remain a place where impossible stories became possible, where love always conquered fear, where hope always overcame despair, and where a woman who once arrived trembling with nerves, a resume in hand, was now living proof that everyone deserves a second chance, or a real first chance. The end. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Jennifer and Michael made the right decisions? And Richard, did he manage to redeem himself as a father? Share your honest thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing what our listeners think about these inspiring stories of love and perseverance. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss other touching stories like this one.